Oh, there we go. Dun dun dun. All right. Oh, there we go. We got one. Two. Oh, we're building. I love it. All right, I'm late. I'm sorry. I had a meeting and it went long, but we're past 3 o'clock, and it's time to tell the story of what happened in LA. Unfortunately, I was trying to go live on my laptop and also live on our Instagram via my phone. So I was going to have both queued up, but I'm new to going live on my laptop for the first time and could not get that to go at the same time. So I'm doing this all via phone. So I'm going to do it here on Facebook, and then I'm going to go to Instagram and do it there for anyone that did not get to see it here. So let's talk about the story. So here's how it begins. So we get into the stadium, and we actually had a whole row in the end zone, right where to give you kind of an idea of where we were at. We were right by the Cardinals tunnel, section 105, and it was right where Buda Baker went down, right where that big hit was. And right around that same exact time, well, let's start at the first quarter, and then we'll get back to that. Right before the game kicks off, they do the flag ceremony, and we had a fan with us that. Oh my gosh, why am I spacing on names? I had all the names written down, and see, this is where I'm a mess. I'm going to feel so bad that I can't think of his name. David. Ooh, I'm going to say it's David. So David, he during the national anthem, they pulled out the big flag. They're doing the whole ceremony, taking up the whole field. With the flag, they cover the whole one. I feel like the Cardinals used to do that. I don't know if we've done that in a long time, but really cool ceremony, beautiful stadium. Well, we were in row one in the section 105, and right below us were the suites and the field level suites. And in the field level suites, there was a bunch of older gentlemen. One guy was like this real jacked old dude. And it totally came off like he was probably a doctor or a real estate agent, something crazy, big money guy. And he had with him what we think were either strippers or TikTok stars. Rumor was TikTok stars. That was never confirmed or denied. But anyway, these girls were with them, and considerably it seemed younger than the dudes that were in the suite. Well, one of the girls decided not to stand during the national anthem. And so that upset David. And when that upset him, he said, he yelled down to her, like, hey, stand up. Where are you from? Like, you're from here. You should show respect to the flag. Valid reasoning to be upset. I totally understand that. He wants to make, he wants everyone to show respect to the country and especially respect to the flag and all the service that men and women have provided for us and everything else, in our military and what that all means. And so what then happened was security gave him the eye and told him, hey, you need to relax. You need to leave this girl alone. Mind you, instead of just owning it and saying, hey, my bad, she decided to flip him off. So that made him a little upset. And so now as the game gets going, obviously it's a bloodbath. The first quarter, maybe half. The first half was pretty bad. What do we have? -3 yards going into halftime. Everything's fine. Right, until the third quarter, until when the Buddha has that play, I believe it was on Akers, and so at that moment when Buddha's down on the field, it's getting all quiet. About 20 rows in our section behind us, or in our section, but 20 rows back. And I actually have the video for this. Someone sent it to me, so I'm going to post this in the comments after the fact. There's this big brawl, and the video I have is pretty good. So I'm gonna post that. You'll be entertained by that. Don't fight at stadiums; it's not good. But I will show you that because it's like a car wreck. You just have to look. So the fight goes on. They're going at it, and at the time, I'm thinking David felt this was opportune time, just out of frustration, to poke the bear a little bit more. And he then yells at the girl for not standing for the flag again. Mind you, that was 3 quarters before. So was he starting to antagonize a little bit? Sure. For just cause? Yes. But again, it was 3 quarters earlier. So I do feel that was, from a Cardinal perspective, us, and I'll say us because I'm standing there, but, it was our fans kind of egging them on a little bit. Sure. Not a big deal, though. Like, security shut him down again, told him, hey, you need to relax. He goes, hey, I'm cool. And he chills. Well, the next, 10 minutes, the guys that are with these girls now have proceeded to continue to turn around at us so that their back is to the field. And they're, egging us on. They're going like this. One guy was, wiggling his hips at us, flaunting his dick. Sorry, it's not PG. It's supposed to be a kid show. So anyway, that happens, and here's where I get involved. And I will, this is where I will take some sort of ownership that if you want to say I did anything wrong, which I still don't understand how this is wrong, but I am now asking security, and I am being passionate about it. I'm saying, yo, why is this guy, and I'm pointing to him, I'm not talking to the guy. I've not said anything to him. I've not sworn at him. I've done nothing to this dude. It's not happened. I am talking to the 8 or so security guards who are now watching our section vividly because of the fight that just broke out. They are glued in on us. So I am talking to those security guards who have been looking at us over this whole course of this deal, and they've been telling him specifically, the guy next to me, or two seats down from me, to calm down. I say to them, I go, why is this okay? This guy is not even watching the game. He's egging us on. He's trying to provoke us. And the security guard just kind of shrugs his shoulders, leave it alone, whatever. I will say at this time, the security guard that's to our right at the bottom of the staircase is coming. He flat out comes over to me and says, you need to sit down or move back in your seat. Mind you, my space is a little square. There's no row in front of me. The next row is the field suite below us. So I'm at the rail. So that is my seat. That whole area is my section. Now, was I sitting down? No. But at a football game, you don't sit down, and most of you on the front will stand. So I was like, dude, I'm in my spot. Why don't you talk to this guy over here that is turned facing us, that is trying to instigate? And he goes, just sit down. So at this point, I see a guy with the headset. And when they have the headsets, I'm assuming that's more of a superior level security guard. I call him over, and he takes his headset off. He comes over, and I said, hey, bud, can you please explain to me why what this guy's doing is okay right now and what we're doing is a problem? And he just shrugged it off again. And at this point, there are, during this whole time, there are people in suits, and those are NFL personnel. And they are watching us and taking photos. And at this point, I can tell that the girl is ready to remove the Cardinal fan next to us. And when I say next to us, he's 2 seats down. So he's not immediately to my left or to my right. To my right, I had Mike Spank from State 48. He had left. He was upset with the outcome of the game. He was at the game, but he was just up in the concourse, walking around, not too happy. I had Mike, our photographer. And then to my left, I had Joe Ortiz, Papa Joe, the Mexican Bruce Arians. If you've ever met Joe, he's the nicest guy on the planet. And we've got a lot of nice guys and gals in our Bird Gang travel group. But Joe is a sweetheart. He's a really great dude. Joe has said nothing this entire time. Okay, so he's to my left. Mike, our photographer, Yodarte, is 2 seats down from me. So there's an empty seat next to me where Mike Spank used to be. So at this point, I have now sat down. Another 10 minutes goes by. I have not said a word, not to security, not to the people in front of us. I'm over it. I'm just I'm annoyed because I have now justified in my mind that the security guard's justification was that the guys in the suite below us, I don't know if they have a yearly suite. I don't know if it was just one game, but I would imagine that's about a $30,000 suite. I would imagine they probably, being from the LA area, own the suite. They're probably a company, whatever. And what happened is those security guards were like, we're not going to remove the guys that spend $30,000 a game. If we're going to remove anyone, it's going to be those guys that flew in here for one game. Okay. And that's kind of the justification. Right or wrong, that's what I think they decided. Now, mind you, like I said, 10 minutes has gone by. I've said nothing to them. I will tell you, if I'm going to own any guilt here, I did have a michelada in my hand. And at one point, before this 10 minutes where I'm doing nothing, I was like, God, I want to throw this beer at this guy. Like, this guy has pissed me off. Because I was more mad that security was doing nothing and they didn't care. Like, and that they were basically making us the guilty parties. Now, they weren't kicking us out at that point. So it wasn't like, okay, generally there was no punishment. So I wasn't concerned on that level. It was more, I was annoyed that they weren't disciplining those guys and they were just in our case. Now, the 10 minutes goes by, and in that, let's say 10 minutes or so, let's say the last 4, David, the guy a couple seats over, he is now chirping at the security guard directly in front of him for staring him down. He doesn't like that he's staring at him. And he goes, you can call me, you can do any of this. We can, if you got to look at me at all times, here's my number. He yells his number at him. At this point, the NFL lady is really pissed. And I can see her take a picture of him, and she goes like this. And she's saying he's gone. And so now another 3 or 4 minutes comes by, and now the security's coming down. And so the security comes down, and they cut over, and they're like, hey, can you come here real quick? And they're saying this to David. And they tell him he needs to leave. And he goes, I ain't going nowhere. What did I do? I didn't do anything. And at one point, I think the security said to him that they thought he threw a beer or spilt a drink on them. That did not happen. I do know that from somewhere behind us at one point, way earlier, like 20 minutes before, someone threw a Cardinal flag, but it was more at the field. And I think it was in disgust of how the Cardinals were playing. It wasn't near their suite. So that's the only throwing that I saw at any time. But at this point, someone had told him that they thought he threw a drink or spilt a drink or something to that scenario. He's adamant, no, I've not thrown a drink. That's not happened. So I'm not leaving. Now, at one point, the cops, local LA County Sheriff's Department has come over, and they tell him, yo, this is verbatim, said, they have every right at this point to hurt you. So you're either going to come or you're not. You can do this the easy way or the hard way. And I was like, wow, this is escalating quickly. I'm sitting down. I'm not standing. This guy's standing, and that's who they're kicking out. I've been sitting down for 10 to 12 minutes. And at this point, I'm just like, I can't believe this guy's getting kicked out. And next thing I see on the field, the securities are saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and saying all 4 go, all 4 go. They assumed that David and I were homies, and I feel really bad if his name's not David. It's David or Daniel. I'm pretty sure it was David. And I've met him before, and I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm just spacing on your name right now, and I saw your comment on Instagram, and when I do this on Instagram, I'll have your name right. But that's how well I know him. I do not know him very well. I've seen him around. We didn't come to the game together. Let's put it that way. And so he was part of our group. He came, but we weren't like, hey, we didn't plan to sit by each other. Nothing like that. So, they're saying they're going to kick all 4 of us out at this point. And now, mind you, the 4 is him. I don't think his buddy. I think it was just him because he had a buddy with him. Joe Ortiz, the nicest guy in the world that did nothing. Myself, but they never really identified who the 4th was. They just kept saying 4. So it could have been Mike, the photographer. Or it could have been maybe the guy's buddy, but they only were removing us 3. And the Rams fans behind us were like, these guys didn't do anything, specifically Joe. They didn't necessarily say I didn't do anything, but they definitely said Joe did nothing. If you've seen me at the games, obviously the videos I've posted and the pictures, I dress up a little bit. I look like an asshole, okay? I look like a Cardinal fan that would be a little over the top. So I understand why I became a target at that point. But they have now made the decision to remove all of us. And so we are now walking up, head of shame, and they escort us. And they kind of, David, there he is, David Barrios. It was David. So David's in the chat. So David, it's David's fault we all got kicked out. Sorry, David, but it's true. But you stood for what you believed in, so I respect that. So David, at this point, David's on the move. Joe and I are trying to have the Rams fans testify for us. And, I try to call over the NFL lady we didn't do anything. Some random guy comes over with a suit that we had never, he wasn't even involved in the situation, but now he's like, them four, they all gotta go. And, at this point, they suckered David and me in the sense that I knew what they were doing. They're like, can you come over and talk to us about it over here? And then maybe you'll come back. We were never coming back. The minute we walked up, their whole intent was to walk us out the rest of the way. And so we walk up, we're heading out. The cops were really nice. Obviously, for some of you, my wife's a cop. Shout out to wifey. It was what it was. They were cool. I was cool with them. The one funny part is Mike Yadarte decided he was just going to leave. He was, I think, the fourth, but that was never confirmed. And he was just like, well, I'm out too. That's the game. There was 7 minutes left. It was over. And so Mike decides to roll out with me, behind me. Joe's way in front. I feel bad. Joe looked like someone kicked his dog. He was so upset that he was removed, and for good reason. He did nothing. I don't know why he got removed. He's a gangster now. I mean, that's what it was. Rebel without a cause. So we get walked out. The cop does tell me that I could go after and file. There's a place on NFL to file a complaint against stadium security and all of that. And they go, but that's the NFL personnel. You can file against them as well. You could maybe get some of your money back. You could take legal action. Listen, the Cardinals were out of that game well before we got kicked out. There was less than 7 minutes to go. I'm not too worried about that. We had a good time, all that you can consider, with what was a bad game. I will say a couple points that I want to make before we wrap this up. Point one, anyone that knows me or been with me at any of these games, anyone that was with us this weekend, mind you, Saturday night or Sunday night, Monday, I had so many of our group offer me a drink, and I turned them down 99.9% of the time. I don't drink at our events at all because I'm so trying to be dialed in on everything. I'll answer that, CJ. Relax. I don't drink at any of these things because I'm so dialed in on wanting to make sure everyone has a good time that I can't do that. I'm very logistics and I got to move. If you've ever watched me at these events, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I can't, that's just not it. I will say I did get a couple micheladas at the game because that's my favorite thing to get at the games are the micheladas. And they actually had some pretty good ones where we were at. And so I did have a couple of those, but over a 3-hour course of a game, I wasn't even near buzzed. I mean, I was sober as a judge. So yeah, I was fine. No fists were thrown, nothing. But if you want to see fists thrown, I will throw the video in the comments of the fight that happened in our section just prior. So if you feel like this explanation wasn't good enough for your time, the video will make up for it. So I'll post that next. All right, the other key components. Because when you get kicked out, I know at our stadium when you get kicked out, and I know from a friend, and I won't name him, but he may have been named earlier in this conversation. When he got kicked out recently, you have to do like an ethics class to be able to come back to a game, like a fan code of ethics course, like an online, like you would for a driver's test. Clearly, they just wanted us out, and I'll give you my reasoning for everything at the end. They didn't have too big of a problem with us, obviously, because they didn't take us anywhere. They just literally walked us out the gates and made sure we were out of the stadium. So, no, they have photos of us, but they don't have our names. I mean, now they probably have my name, but we're not on a ban list of anything I know. I think we're fine there. We've not been notified of anything crazy. So I think we're good in that situation. So now I'm going to give you the verdict of why I think it all happened, and then we'll wrap this up. So why I think this happened was, like I said earlier, the people in front of us are in a $30,000 suite. They probably buy it year round. They're probably a company, et cetera, et cetera. From a Rams perspective and an NFL perspective, they're not going to kick those people out unless they could take a dump on the field and they're letting them hang out. Okay. If they did something really bad, sure. Right. Maybe. We were there for one time. And the reason why I think I was kicked out and why I think maybe Mike and Joe were kicked out was this. They assumed we were all together. So when David did what he did, I think they thought that, well, if we kick him out, it's just going to make these other guys get rowdier and cause more problems. So it's probably better just to kick them all out and not deal with it. And they knew that the game was a blowout and it was over. So I think that's the way they decided to keep everybody, because we're menaces, they decided to keep everyone safe by kicking us all out. Mike. I don't know if Mike was Mike Spank was bummed. He was really bummed. He was depressed. He did have a bacon wrapped, a snoring dog outside that made him feel better. And he missed the gym today. I'll throw that out there. Mike Yadarte, though, he said he wanted to leave about a quarter earlier because it was such a bad game. But so I think we're all good. Joe was the bummed one. Poor Joe. So if anyone wants to send condolences to anyone, send it to Joe Ortiz. He's a nice guy, and I think he didn't want the bad rap on his name. He didn't want people to think he's a rebel. But he is. He's part of our gang now. And so what I do want to wrap this up with is say, everyone that did come, we planned this on Wednesday, the events, and we thank you all for coming out and supporting it. We had over 120 fans at our tailgate. It was awesome. It was a Cardinals only event, or Bird Gang only event. It was awesome to see all the fan turnout. Obviously, the game didn't end how we wanted it to, but our whole vision and idea is we want to continue to grow and continue to do great trips next year. Minnesota, Atlanta, Denver, Las Vegas the biggie. And then tentatively, if the trips come back overseas or in the other countries, Mexico City, that will be, we think, on the schedule next year. So we will see what those look like in April, right before the draft, and we will announce our packages, and that's when people can sign up and join us for next year's trips. This year, our biggest trip was 500 fans. Guys, the Eagles have a group, 1,500 to 2,000 Cardinal fans go with their group. When you get to that volume, you can do some really cool things with your package, and your dollar goes so much further. When we only have, 500 is a great number, but we only have 100 on a trip, for example, like Dallas, we can't do as much as we'd want to do. So the more people we can get to these trips, it's going to be even cooler packages, even more access. At some point, you think the Cardinals hopefully will be able to get more involved with us again. Obviously, with COVID, that's a little difficult. But if we keep growing and growing and growing, at some point, they're going to want to be involved, more than they have. They've been involved a lot over the years, but I would love for them to have a great synergy with us, similar to what maybe the Carolina Panthers have with their fan group, the Roaring Riot. Their trips, their biggest trip's 800. Our biggest trip's only been 500. 500 is a great number, don't get me wrong. But we want to get to that 800. We want to get to that 1,000, that 1,500, because we want to pick up some big trips, and the wife wants me to go to work now on cleaning the house. We want to do all this great stuff for you guys, and it all starts again next year. Hopefully the team makes some crazy improvement over the offseason because we had a great year at 11 wins. Let's get to 12, 13, 14 wins, and let's make some noise in the playoffs next year with a great offseason. So we thank you all for making this weekend a success. If you haven't seen the photos, they're on our page on Facebook. Go download them and share them on your page if you're in them. So we'll see you guys in April, and hopefully we'll do another fun Suns run as well. If the Suns have some cool playoff stuff, we'll get involved on that again, and maybe some travel during the playoffs. So stick around for all of that and our Cardinal trips coming up in April, and maybe a trip to the draft. That's the last piece I could give you, is the draft is in Vegas this year, and we're already talking about putting something together. So we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys. Oh, I'm putting that fight in the comments, so enjoy that next.